Hey guys, what's up? Stock Retail here. I'm actually going to give you two videos today. And the reason for that is one, I was going to do kind of a pre-earnings video, share with you a little bit of where I see that we're at. But I also saw, and actually, frankly, I've gotten questions over weeks and even months many times on the conversion math. I've put that in a few videos before, but today I just really want to hammer home and show some sources. If you've been around my channel a while, you know there's been quite a few times I've said, no trust me bros here. So I'll show you the language in some filings to back up, and I'd really love to kind of once and for all just say, guys, this is the math on the conversion. So I'm gonna show that here. Hopefully that helps everybody. I will do both the reverse split and the settlement that's being discussed. And if you're a Twitter ape, then you may just have seen there's just different questions out there around, hey, what about preferred equity shares, and can you really do a reverse split on those? And I totally see where the question came in. There's some technicalities that I had not covered in past videos because when I read these, we're talking like all the way into the holidays, like pre-New Year's, when I had read some of the vote filings, and then as the proxy filing came out, I saw what they were doing, of how they're kind of getting around these preferred equity shares and affecting a reverse split on them. So I'm going to show you that. I hadn't covered it before because it's so detailed, but I just want to sort of prove everything is getting reverse split. Everything is one for one. Gosh, I can't remember how many times I've said that, and AMC has said that. And I'm going to show you their own language from the filings and give you the link so that there's no trust me bros around that. Um, yeah, why don't we just go ahead and dive in? And so I'm going to kind of just try to ingrain in our heads, APE is being reverse split also. Nothing has changed. That's always been the case. That stays the case. So let me just kind of lay out the case for that from their filing. So this is one of their proxy filings from before. I'm not going to show you the settlement filing here. I do have a settlement video if you kind of go see. It's one that I even demonetized because I had wanted everyone to see that. I wanted everyone to really understand the settlement math. So I'm going to show the settlement math here again in this video. Or if you want to see more kind of settlement language, there's a couple of settlement videos I had. Look in particular at the second one, but there's some there where I kind of show, some of the filings. Okay, so here let's start with, this was from the proxy vote filing. This was the materials AMC said, we think you need to know all of this to have a vote. So they were communicating to us, in a transparent way to say, here's what's happening and what you're voting on. So you can see, first of all, there were these, remember, this is at the time of that proxy filing, so the numbers are not quite right now. There have been more apes sold into the market. Maybe I'll kind of reference that through this video. So we're going to look at the numbers here from the time of the proxy filing, but it absolutely explains to you the split and how that's working and all of that. So there were 9.3 million basically shares of the preferred equity shares, the preferred stock. And remember, if you were to like go find my Reddit or some other things on APE when it was created, one preferred equity share actually represented 100 shares of AMC common. And then one APE was 1/100th of a preferred equity share. And so that's how they made it 1-to-1. APE and AMC became 1-to-1. So that's why here you see 9.3 million basically shares of the preferred stock, but that's 930 million apes. That's that 100-to-1 as of the record date. But then notice, what did they convert into? Will convert into 92.9 million shares of common stock. Well, I think it's pretty clear. Take this 929.8, divide by 10, you get 92.98. There's your 10-to-1, or 1-to-10, reverse split. Let's keep going. I'm going to show you more examples. I will kind of try to dial through fast. I'm going to, again, give you the link so you can go see all this, or you can just kind of hit rewind if you want to read what I've got on here and what I've highlighted. Okay, a little later in the same proxy filing, I'm going to read what I've underlined here. A preferred stock that was previously convertible into 100 shares of common stock, so there's that 100-to-1 I was just talking to you about, will automatically convert in full, with no action on the part of holders, we don't have to do anything, into the split adjusted 10 shares of common stock. So notice, that was previously worth 100, now it's worth 10. Here was the technical detail and where I can tell people got hung up. Basically, and I think I may have even referenced this way back in one of the holidays kind of videos that I maybe made December, November. They technically are reverse splitting AMC and then bringing APE over. They're doing it in a sequence of steps. It's not all one big thing. And so the way that they've ordered the sequence makes it so everything gets reverse split. So there are some people, I think, saying like, well, hey, preferred shares don't reverse split. Well, that might be true, but what they're doing is they're making a preferred share worth less AMC, so they're kind of forcing a reverse split on it. So whereas it used to be worth 100 shares of AMC, now after AMC has reverse split, so that's some stuff I didn't screenshot for you. Just think through, AMC has already done its reverse split. The common shares have already done that. Now these preferred equity shares are worth 1/10 of what they used to be. But that keeps it 1-to-1. Just I cannot clarify enough, and I'm going to show you examples in a minute that proves it's 1-to-1. You know, if an ape was worth an AMC before, you know, the reverse split, and now it kind of keeps the same value that it's worth after the reverse split. So it used to be worth 100, now it's worth 10. Well, that's because AMC already had reverse split, thereby causing each ape to automatically convert into the split adjusted 0.1. Well, 0.1 is 1 divided by 10. Remember, it's a 1-to-10 reverse split, worth 0.1 share of a common stock, split adjusted. Okay, let's keep going. So another example, all of this, by the way, was in that proxy filing. So when I say kind of don't trust me, bro, what I mean is we want to go read the sources for ourselves so that we can understand and not get confused. Don't take my word for it. Also, don't take someone else's word for it who says the opposite of what I'm saying. Go to the filing. So what I'm showing you is the filing, but I'm also showing you, you could go see this for yourself and not even have to listen to me. Okay, current status. So this AMC put this in the filing. This is a screenshot directly from a filing that's on the SEC Edgar site right now. You could go find it. I'm going to give you the link, like I said. So they were saying, hey, before reverse split, the current status, notice that 100 apes is, you know, one of these preferred stock, so that equals 100 shares of common stock. In other words, look what I've underlined. 1 ape equals 1 share of common stock. 1 ape is 1 AMC. Okay, but what happens after if we approve this? And by now you know we voted and we approved it. Now 100 apes is still 1 share of a preferred stock, but that preferred stock is only worth 10 shares of common stock. This is the technicality. What they basically did is they changed the math on how many common shares you could get for every preferred equity share. So they didn't technically reverse split the preferred equity share. So some people out there kind of saying you don't reverse split preferred equity. You know, I'll be honest, I haven't done DD on that, but let's just pretend for a minute that they're right. Well, they're not actually reverse splitting the preferred equity here. They're just saying the preferred equity is now worth 1/10 of the amount of common shares it used to be worth. And that's kind of how you get to it. Basically pushed ape into a reverse split. So now 1 ape is only 1/10 of a share of common stock. But remember, it's 1/10 of a reverse split AMC. So that keeps it at the sort of 1-to-1 that you had. And it's just all about the sequence of events, because they're reverse splitting AMC before they bring the ape, before they convert the ape. So they had to do this, and you can hear even me explaining it. It gets real wonky, and that's why I didn't cover it in past videos, because, you know, forgive me, but I guess I just decided it was so complicated, I wasn't going to bother explaining it. Just the simple way of explaining it is saying 1-to-1. It's 1-to-1. Just keep that in your mind. And so I stuck to that and didn't cover this sort of technicalities of how this was happening. But basically, they're reverse splitting AMC first. Then they're saying, because we already reverse split, you'll get too many AMC if we don't do something to ape. And the way they did something to ape is to say, well, now this preferred equity share is only worth 10 shares of common stock instead of 100. And that effectively reverse splits ape. It divides it by 10. Nail in the coffin on this, just proof is in the pudding kind of a thing. This is AMC's language giving us an example. They gave us a scenario, and I've quoted this one quite a few times to people, especially in kind of that holiday season. Some people were saying it's not 1-to-1 and all this other. Yes, it's 1-to-1. Just read what AMC Investor Relations has given us. They also gave some apes this in emails that I saw. So here it says, for example, if you hold 100 of each, so 100 shares of common stock and 100 apes, when this becomes effective, you will then hold 20 shares of common stock. You would have 10 post-split shares of the common and 10 post-split shares of common from the apes. So the 100 and 100 becomes 10 and 10. So your 200 becomes 20. It's right here. They give you this example. Read this through. Like I said, you can look at my screenshot here, or if you kind of don't want to trust me, bro, go to, I'm going to give you the link at the end of this. You can see, but AMC has clearly said 100 AMC becomes 10 and 100 ape becomes 10. If you had 100 and 100, that becomes 20. But now we need to talk about the settlement too. And so, like I said, I have those settlement videos. You can go see that. I'm going to go through the math again. This is the exact same slide I have in one of those videos. I don't know, for whatever reason you want to maybe watch a demonetized video, that's fine. Go to that one. I want apes to know this stuff. So let's look at it with the settlement, and it matters because remember there's also no fractional shares, and that's why I want to go through this. So let's say instead of 100, I'm going to use an example where you have 150 of each. I picked this 801 price. I said in the other video, I don't want to get into any kind of guessing at what the price is going to be at conversion. So I'm just picking, obviously, a meaningful price to all of us apes. And that's not in any way saying what I think the price will be. In fact, for this discussion, what I just want to help you see is the math on your shares. I'm going to kind of ignore a lot of how the price will work. See if I can try to reference that a little. So let's say you had 150 of each at 801. So the value of your portfolio of APE and AMC here at the bottom, this is this $2,400. Now, the reverse split happens. I kind of just walked you through how it's 1-to-1. They're both really getting divided by 10. It's just a sequence of events of how that's happening. So now your 150 AMC will become 15 common shares. I'm showing here this becomes this 15 ape. Really, I probably should change this slide. This should really say it's going to become those 15 common shares. We're going to show that here in a minute as we progress. No change in your value. Adam has said this a few times too. You've seen his example of saying, hey, if I give you 10 $1 bills or one $10 bill, it's still $10. So let's just say that the market doesn't react. And that's the key. So, let's be real with ourselves. The market will react post reverse split. So you have to decide how you feel about that and what you think is going to happen. Because this whole thing's pretty meaningful to me, I'm going to hold. But I understand that you have financial decisions to make. So I'm always going to want to be honest on this channel. Be transparent on this channel and say that I'm not showing any change in price. It's just at the time of conversion, but then you're going to have to think through what you think the market reaction is to the reverse split and what you think this means in terms of the squeeze and all of that. But now let's keep going. So the way the settlement works is post reverse split. There's a lot of math that kind of proves that out as well, and you can reverse math some things from the settlement filings that I mentioned I kind of cover in those other videos. It's definitely post-reverse split. I'm very confident of that because of the filings, which is also kind of the point of this video is you can get it right if you go to the filings. And don't worry if 5 apes say one thing and 5 apes say another thing. Just go to the filings, and then you're hearing directly from AMC on the SEC website itself. So you had these 150 AMC. They become 15, but now there's a settlement on only the common shares and only post-reverse split. So in this case, remember, that's 1 to 7.5. So in this case, you get 2 more AMC common shares. Now, let's say that, again, the price hasn't changed yet, and now you're actually up because you received this dividend. I'm viewing this settlement as a dividend of common shares to the common share holders, and it will be at the time of record. Remember that whole record date thing, which I believe will be whenever the settlement is finally accepted. Come on, Chancery Court. We want you to finish this thing. We'll talk in another video at some point about writing letters and getting on them. And, I'll be in full support of this. But, whether you're in support or objecting, I'll give you a way to write the letters. Wait for that. But that's another video for another day. Okay, so if you own your common shares, you get this settlement, which adds value, actually. Now, notice you're up $160. So if you just owned AMC, you'd be up about 13%. If in this case you were 50-50, you had AMC and APE, you're up about 7%, 6.67%. Okay? So now you have your 17 AMC, from your original 150. You have your 15 from your APE. They're going to become together 32 AMC. So it's a little bit different here. Now, why did I use these quantities? Remember, a minute ago we were talking in 100s. In both the proxy materials when we voted on the reverse split, and now in all of the settlement filings, there's a very clear element of them, which is there will not be fractional shares. So say I owned like 140 AMC, that would have become 14 here. And then when I do the 7.5 to 1, the problem is 7.5 doesn't go into 14 neatly. You have this like remainder, right? There's a fractional share that would be left. Well, if you have any fractional shares, so in this case, I would get a dividend of 1 instead of 2. And then my, like, I'll make this up. If it was about 0.8 something that I was due, instead of getting that 0.8 post-reverse split share, they're going to give me the same amount of cash. They're just going to give you the cash that would have been worth. So you're not going to be like out of luck. You're still going to get cash, but you're not going to get shares for that. So if you didn't want any fractional shares paid out as cash, and you wanted to truly see all your shares come through, you're going to need to think in these 150s. Not so much for APE. APE, you could still think in tens. APE is going to convert at that 1 to 10. I just was showing you a scenario where you owned 50-50. It doesn't have to be like that. So for APE, if you don't want fractional shares, you need to think in tens. For AMC, if you don't want fractional shares, you're actually going to have to think in 150s now, because there's a 10 to 1 and then there's a 7.5 to 1. And the reason you then, you might say, well, why not 75s? Because remember the 10 to 1. So if I had 75 AMC to start, that can't convert into 7.5. I'm going to lose that half. That's going to convert into 7, and that half is going to get paid out. So if you really don't want any fractions, you want to think on the AMC side of having lots of 150. Maybe you own 150, or you own 300, or you own 450, or keep going up from there. On the APE side, you got to own them in tens. I don't personally think worrying about this fractional share thing is any big thing, but I know there are apes who feel kind of, let's say, psychologically and emotionally attached to holding everything all the way through and not having anything kind of cut loose and paid out as cash. I understand that and I respect that, so I wanted to just tell you, if you don't want any fractional shares, you need to own tens in APE and 150s in AMC. But if that's hard for you, if you own less shares than that, I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, just would say don't worry about it. Own what you can own. If that cash is paid out, then, I don't know, save up and later buy a share, whatever, when you're ready. Or use that cash for what you need it for. So I'm not personally getting overly wrapped up around these fractionals, but I wanted to just make sure and communicate that. The bottom line is this math here is confirmed in the filings. It's been confirmed time and again, and I just really want you to understand it. That's all. So if the settlement gets approved, this is what it's going to look like in terms of the share math. I can tell you that. There's a 10 to 1 reverse split, then there's a 7.5 to 1 dividend on the common shares only. Then you combine them all, and that's what you've got at the end. Okay? So, in this case, you were up, but again, there was no market reaction, no price change. We know that, of course, the price is going to move. As Adam says, it's going to go up, down, or sideways. Something's going to happen to the price. So in no way am I giving you any predictions on price activity. I'm just telling you, in this case where the price didn't change, you're up because you have those extra shares from the settlement. I'll say something here in case some of you haven't watched the other settlement videos. I referenced dilution in one of those, and I want to just cover here, in this case, it's not really that dilutive in my opinion, and here's why. If this whole 7.5 to 1, I think it was like 6.9 million shares, basically, a post-reverse split, or you could think about it as 69 million shares now. If Adam was to go sell like 69 million shares into the market, that's dilution. Now the market cap of the company, the market capitalization, the total value of the company is spread out across more shares. And I don't own any more shares, so I don't own the same percent of the company I used to. But in this case, he's giving it as a dividend to the existing shareholders. So when I receive this dividend, even though the value of the company, that market cap, is spread out over more shares, there's these 69 million more shares, but I still own the same percent of the total of the company that I used to. So you're not losing any value in terms of you still own the same percent of the company that you owned before the settlement, because you're receiving these shares as a dividend. The dividend is going to the existing shareholders. It's not being sold out into the market. So to me, that's a pretty important distinction, that it's dilution in terms of spreading the value out over more shares, but you are owning the more shares and I am owning the more shares. They're not going out there into the market, if that makes sense. Okay, so for me, and I said in that second settlement video, if you want to go check that out, I give some considerations, because people ask me all the time, well, should I buy APE? Should I buy AMC? Which one do I hold? I cannot answer that ever, and I won't answer that ever, but I at least give some considerations on thinking through, like, for example, could AMC squeeze? What's the cost to borrow pressure doing to that? What is the event of this reverse split going to do to shorts? On the ape side, it's, what do you think about it converting and becoming the price of AMC? And now, of course, on AMC, you're thinking about the settlement. Just all these different things, I cover in another video, but you'll have to consider for yourself and do what's right for you. Finally, I say always go to the source. Just any of the confusion out there, there's going to be times that I'm going to get something wrong. There's going to be times someone else gets something wrong. So I'd love to just keep showing you. You can go get this for yourself. Just do a simple Google for SEC Edgar. So you can see here's the long link, but ultimately you see here's the SEC, right? SEC.gov. And you can see this thing called Edgar here. That's where they keep all the company's filings. Every company, all the filings. So if you go to SEC Edgar, and then there'll be a way to search for companies. You could search for AMC and you'll get every single filing they've ever had. Screenshot this, I guess. Type this in if you want this. This is the link to the proxy filing that I gave you most of the screenshots from. This was the vote filing that proved, in AMC's language, from them, so directly from the source, that yes, APE and AMC are both undergoing this sort of 10-to-1. They're just doing it in a kind of different way in a different sequence. Hope that makes sense. Ultimately, guys, for me, I always say simplify. Guys, Guardians of the Galaxy coming out this week. Let's just go see that. Let's buy our popcorn. Let's use our credit cards and let's support the company we love and let's support the apes we love. Let's go.